You're listening to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan and friends. And here's Russ.
Hey, welcome back to Home Sweet Home with Russ McClellan. We are actually in a studio at our real estate office in the post-land of COVID. All right, maybe that's wishful thinking, but we are together. We're not on Zoom. Thank the Lord. I'm an old school bricks and mortar kind of guy, right? But I've had to manage to change. I actually know how to do things on the computer. My first computer was like a Timex 1000 or something with a cassette deck as the disk drive. I love that though. You know, I love real estate because with pushing 80 agents now in just our third full calendar year and already zooming past every real estate company to number 2 in volume, going into our third year and number 1 by far in agent count. It's in large part thanks to you guys and people like you. And what I love about the culture of success is that it breeds success if you let it, if you're honest, if you treat people right, treat people how you want to be treated. It's not that it's not without issues, right? We don't live in Never Never Land. This isn't pixie dust and unicorn time every day. So we have relationships. We have conflict resolution. We solve people's problems. I often say to people when we're solving problems that if it wasn't for those problems, they probably wouldn't pay us 6% on $1 million, right? Right? Like we're pretty lucky to have those challenges. Hence, we are expert advisors and we solve them. You guys do such an amazing job. So I'm curious to get back to that question I asked. What would you say to somebody that's thinking about real estate but just is like, I'm scared?
Well, you have to be ambitious. If you are self-motivated, ambitious, and you strive for excellence, then you're a perfect fit. That real estate isn't rocket science. It does take a lot to learn some of the forms and documents and all the legal procedures, but when it comes down to actual sales, we are all people. Clients are people, you're a person, and if you have the ambition and the motivation, there's no limit to your success.
No, I mean, you guys are doing incredible. You've been in the business 3 years, I've been in 30, you're kicking, like, you guys together have some kind of chemistry thing going, so you're doing something. I honestly, the owner of the company and the designated broker, I don't get it. I don't know how you do such a great job in 3 years. Like, between the two of you, it's not magic though, right? I remember asking you one time, like, how are you selling 10 homes a month? Or whatever the heck you guys were doing at the time. And she goes, I answer my phone. Like, you're very fundamental. Like, it's not, I call people back, right? You know, like, I was expecting this big elaborate answer. And then after that conversation, I remember thinking, you know, it's really not that hard.
No.
But fear gets a hold of us, all of us. You know, we all have our own insecurities. We all have in our own mind our flaws that we beat ourselves up over. Whether anybody else knows it or not, it's true because we're these things called humans, and we're pretty good at that, right? Our mind is a trickster. Our mind likes to go to drama. So when you got into it, I remember talking to you too, Brian, about some of the stress. You know, there was some stress coming into the equation because, I mean, first of all, your volume will create that because you're answering so many calls and doing so many deals together. But you got in with, I turned you on to Fletcher Ellingson, who I've coached with for a couple of years. I'd love to talk just a little bit about how that maybe has helped mindset with you. Has it been a difference maker?
Yeah, absolutely. Working with Fletcher's been a game changer. He's been able to help us utilize the tools that we didn't know that we actually already had.
Right.
You know, and you know, our business model and what we do as husband and wife is purely based on helping people and being there for people. And then doing the coaching with Fletcher allowed us to do that more powerfully.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Not sorry to interrupt you. You hit the nail on the head where we all have these tools in our toolbox that we don't know. Might have a little dust on them. Might be at the bottom of the toolbox. But so often a guy like Fletcher, and what he does is he coaches. And for people that are thinking about getting into our business, starting in June, Fletcher and I are going to be putting together a seminar towards the end of June. And we'll do it about hopefully once a quarter, where we do an immersion, where we come in and maybe for a full day, we really get into it. And then there'll be opportunities for people to coach with him in between the quarterly immersion therapy is what I'm calling it. And what's fun about it is the more you talk to guys like Fletcher, the more you realize that everybody has these gifts that they don't know they have. And building self-esteem and self-confidence in just interpreting what's going on around you can really make a difference in your life. From am I happy to I'm frustrated. And sometimes that is a slippery slope. It's like walking a razor blade, because really in an emotional packed business, that happens a lot. And when you're dealing with the highest dollar items that anybody will probably ever buy in a market where there's like 1,000 buyers for one listing, on every listing, can be a dangerous emotional game. So in the last year, Lisa, what would you say to people that are thinking about real estate? They've heard of Keller Williams, they've heard of some of the other names. What would you say if you had to, in just a couple things that separates us as a group?
Well, first I would say call me so I can discuss this with you. But if you're asking for a difference between, because I have worked at a couple other firms, I would say once again, going back to the culture and the support, and if somebody was not familiar with what I mean by culture, it is the Keller Williams name. When I am working and I see that I'm going to be working with another Keller Williams agent, I know that they have a higher standard, that they are held to a higher standard, that everything about them will be knowledgeable or supportive or friendly even. And that's the name you want to be associated with. You want people to see that your license is hung at a firm where they will get quality service.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was having dinner with a guy in downtown Seattle who's a big developer. And I was telling him, this was like maybe 6 months ago, and I said, man, Seattle prices must be dropping. Because I don't know Seattle that well. Because everybody seems to be moving over here, right? And he looks at me like I was a child, first of all. And he's a mortgage guy, a developer, builder. And he says, Russ, the world's a big place, and Seattle is a little city. Do you know what I mean by that? And I said, not exactly. And he goes, well, how many people in India, China, Russia, around the world, in Europe, Asia, know what Microsoft is? Know what Amazon is? I said, probably most. And so what he said was that Space Needle becomes synonymous with those things to people around the world. And then he said, would you say the Northwest is a good place to live? We don't have a lot of swamps and crocodiles. We don't get a lot of hurricanes. We don't get some of the other problems. We don't have 99% humidity. Northwest, by and large, from a recreational perspective and a climate perspective, is a pretty popular place in the United States. So what his point is that the world's getting smaller, meaning we're dealing with people that quite often move to Seattle, and then they learn about North Central Washington next. So as many people that I thought were moving here, there's exponentially more people moving there. So that fluidity between this pipeline of growth is inevitable and will never end, right? And so I started thinking, like, how powerful is Keller Williams when you have a brand name that is the largest real estate company on planet Earth, that's in 57 countries, that has 190,000 agents in climbing. And we had a record year last year. So all of a sudden, to your point, that culture, that model, those systems, that technology, which we can get into maybe in the next segment, is not exactly the same, but I'm telling you, relative to most situations, it's pretty consistent about integrity, honesty, just helping each other. And part of that, I guess, maybe is a profit-sharing model where that if you're going to help someone, it's going to be mutually beneficial. But more than that, I think it just breeds a certain personality type. Yeah, and although we're competitive with each other and we are competing for listings, I think it's cool that we can do that with honor and integrity, and then go buy each other a beer or a Coke or whatever, right, and have a good time. So I love that. And I love that you're such a mysterious couple. Right? Like you literally are. If there's a couple that's a unicorn and pixie dust, like brewed in between your model, it's weird because I look at it and I'm like, as a designated broker, I see every deal.
Yeah.
And so we're closing like 40, 50 transactions a month. And so I see every single deal. I get like 275,000 unopened emails in my inbox today, right? Like every day is thousands of emails. And with the help of Stephanie Jones, our managing broker, we try to look at as many of those as we can, especially if it's the first 2 years. And I just see your name like every other day. Like this isn't selling Snickers bars. You guys are out there just crushing it. And you're headquartered in Leavenworth, right? But you're doing business all over the place.
Yes. Yeah. Like I'm going to Chelan today and Soap Lake tomorrow.
Yeah. And that's the thing, again, about the world getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? We're unafraid and unintimidated. So, no matter where you're at in real estate, if you give Lisa a call, I'll give her your number. So get a pen because, like she said, she's willing to talk to you. And it's not about doing anything but answering questions. Lisa and Brian don't have ownership in the company, although they are my business partners because we are a profit-sharing company. Their number is 509-679-4888, or you can email Lisa at Lisa Boyle, Boyle, at kw.com, and they can get you the real skinny. Ask them the tough questions. And from there, you can, probably give me a call or Luke a call or somebody else. It doesn't really matter who you call because we're growing rapidly. All right, when we come back in our third segment, we're going to have a good time and talk a little bit more about technology and where we see things shaping up.
Keller Williams.